So, welcome to another episode. So, today we have Dr. Rhadi Ferguson on, who is a judo Olympian. He's competed at the ADCC for BJJ and had professional MMA fights. So, welcome to today's show.
Hello, G-Man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
I've got to say, and we just said this off air, there's very few people who can speak sort of eloquently and with sort of backup and detail about sort of martial arts and the sort of fundamental philosophy that underpins it. Why do you think that the philosophy of martial arts is so important?
Well, I think the undergirding and understanding of why you're doing what it is that you're doing is important, especially at the teenage and the adult level. On the adolescent level, or on the we would say elementary level, it's not as important because children are just doing what they're told to do by the adults. But when you get to the point where you are, 12, 13, 14, 15, you need to understand why it is that you're doing what it is that you're doing. You need to understand the tenets of judo or Muay Thai or boxing. Like I didn't understand what boxing was until my coach Howard Davis, God rest his soul, told me that boxing is the art of not getting hit. I thought that boxing was fighting, but until somebody teaches you that, you don't understand that boxing in and of itself is not about violence. Boxing is the study of pugilism and how to apply that particular study in the realm and in the art form of what we would call boxing. The same thing with judo. You need to understand, what judo means, what the gentle way means. Like gentle doesn't mean easy. Gentle means easier than, right? It doesn't have to be hard. It's easier than it could be because I'm choosing to do it in the most efficient way. And those philosophical approaches and tenets and the understanding of that framework of how you see the sport, see the art, and see the world are important because it colors your lenses. This is why the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, the judo practitioner, and the MMA practitioner have a very difficult time having a conversation. It's not because they don't see the thing, it's just that they see the thing differently.
100%. There's a difference between knowing something and understanding something. Like, I know how, rainfall falls, but do I really understand it to a certain level? It's, unless you're like a scientist that you can really understand it, it's a little bit different. And it's interesting what you said about the boxing as well, because people, hate on people like Floyd Mayweather, but for me, he's one of the best of all time because he's so difficult to hit. His defense is incredible. You just
Incredible.
can't hit you can't hit the guy. And yes, it's not the most amazing to watch unless you are like a student of it. Like people like watching Tyson because of big knockouts and things like that. But in terms of not being able to get hit and slipping in pockets, he's got to be up there with with one of the greatest ever in that respect. So and yeah, and like you said about judo also, they say it's a gentle way, and I totally understand that. But sometimes when you're getting your nagid on your head, uh,
Mm,
it can feel very much a very aggressive sport.
right. Well, you pay the price for doing things incorrectly. So there's an aversive stimulus that's provided for doing things incorrectly. Um, the tough part is sometimes in judo, you don't know what it is that you don't know. And I find this to be, I find this to also be the case on even on the IGF level. And as much as I appreciate the individuals on the IGF level who help make the sport as beautiful and visually palatable as possible, even they have some misunderstandings of how judo is being taught and why it's being taught the way that it is, and the diametrical opposing viewpoints of the staff of the IJF and the coaches and competitors in the environment of play. Like for me, um, I am not a judo viewer. I don't watch judo to view judo for the entertainment value. I watch judo in order to study. When I watch a judo match and when I'm coaching, I don't want my player falling, period. The IGF wants people what? Thrown, because those things look beautiful. So what the IGF wants and what the competitors want are they're in diametrical opposition of each other. And I think that they sometimes create rule sets that don't necessarily provide the outcome that they're looking for, because every rule set that they provide then provides a different type of coaching framework for coaches to get around the rule set because competitors don't want to get thrown. So what happens is we end up having these matches that go into what? Golden
Golden
score.
score, yeah.
Right. So first we have 5 minute matches. They reduce the matches to 4 minutes, 4 minutes so that we can create more power. All right. We want a power endurance match. And we want to make the matches with the women the same as the men, which to me is nonsensical because women and men aren't the same. They're not the same. That's what I'm saying. Are men and women equal? No, they're not equal and they're not the same. That doesn't mean that one, because they're not equal, doesn't mean that one is better than the other. They're just not equal because they're not the same. So the the lean muscle that women have and the lean muscle that men have is very different. Even the amount of the percentage of lean muscle at 78 plus is different than the percentage of lean muscle at 100 plus. You understand? And if you really look at if you ever did body fat testing on a 70 kilo and a 73 kilo judo player on the women's side, it's the exact same. One just has more body fat than the other. One would argue that one is more disciplined than the other. One would argue that one has better eating than the other. Those are arguments that people could have, but the fact of the matter is that both individuals have the same amount of lean muscle, which means if we take that and amplify it across all the weight classes and for men and women, no, it's okay for a man's match to be 5 minutes and for a woman's match to be 4 minutes because of the amount of power that is being displayed in a man's match. You have to allow them to go longer in order for them to get tired.
100%. It's like or football or soccer as they call it, whereby the women's goals and the women's pitches are the same size as the men's, but that's just asinine because they can score from miles out when it shouldn't be a goal really. They should shorten the pitches and shorten the goals. Coming back to the judo thing though, with regards to golden score, I'm 100% in agreement with golden score. I think the issue is that especially with the Shido situation, athletes end up, if there's 30 seconds left, they'll just take it to golden score knowing that they're, a couple of Shidos up and just try and win by Shidos, which I think is kind of ridiculous. That you want to win a match at, Olympic level or world level and do so via essentially penalties that they attacked less than you or that you got pushed out the area or whatever.
And I vehemently disagree. And I at that level, I don't care how you win because at that level, it's not about technique. The technique becomes negligible. Once you get to a certain point, technique becomes negligible. Both individuals have quality technique. So um, let's just say this. The the highlighting poems that we see at the Olympic level, World Championships, Grand Prix, they happen in the first few rounds. They're not happening in the finals.
That's true.
And unless it's a gold medal match and both people are just kind of going for it. But it happens in the preliminary rounds. When you get to the end, and when you get to the finals, you are dealing with okay, there's five things that we're dealing with: strength, conditioning, technique, tactics, and strategy. Those are the five things you're dealing with. All right. Once we get to the top, okay, there's things that become negligible. The technique becomes negligible because both people have impeccable what? Technique. Now, both people by that time are incredibly what? Strong. Both people have great what? Conditioning. We'd have to look and see who got there by golden score and who didn't. The only thing that we're really measuring at that point, we're measuring strategy and tactics. Strategy is the overarching framework of how I'm going to win the match. The tactics are how I make the strategy come to fruition. So what you're looking at in that chair with the coaches, and when you're looking at when you see those people on the mat, you're looking at master manipulators, master strategists, and master tacticians. And some of the tactics that we utilize don't have anything to do with throwing anybody on their back. They have to do with the final outcome that we want, which is winning the match. I always reference Aurelio Miguel in 1988, who won on flags at the Olympics and did not throw anybody for a score. He didn't
That's
throw
insane.
anybody for one score.
That's insane.
It's insane, and his conditioning was impeccable. Impeccable.
But like I think that's kind of true. What you're saying is that the higher the level, the closer the margins are. It's like if you were to fight me, of course, you'd beat the shit out of me. It wouldn't really matter, whether I push you out the area or anything like that, because fundamentally your technique and experience and conditioning is so much better than mine. The little things don't matter.
Let's go further. Is it really my technique?
Well, it might be size, might be experience, might be strategy, might be all of those things. Gripping, kumikata.
Exactly. More often than not, it's going to be the here's what people. So Kazushi is manifested on the physical level. Kazushi happens on the cognitive level. And then Kazushi is created on the effective level. Let's go with children, okay? Let's say two 7-year-old kids fight. All right. One kid is a green belt and the other kid is a yellow belt. Immediately, the kid who's a yellow belt looks at the kid who's a green belt and thinks he can't what?
Can't win. He thinks he can't win. Beat him.
So the Kazushi has already been created on the effective level. Now, the green belt has probably trained more, so there's already Kazushi on the psychomotor level. All right. And on the cognitive level, because the green belt thinks that he can beat the yellow belt. The yellow belt doesn't believe, which is more of an emotional thing on the effective side, that he can beat the green belt. And then they go out and fight. And then you see the Kazushi, the off balancing manifests itself in the environment of play. But the Kazushi happens way before the match is ever fought.
It's like Sun Tzu said, isn't it? He says the successful warrior wins the fight first and then goes to war. I think something like that.
Yeah, my man. And I'm good. It's beautiful, Jeevan, that you study Sun Tzu. I don't believe that anybody should achieve their black belt in any art form without reading Sun Tzu. I don't believe that any MMA fighter should fight a match without reading Sun Tzu. You need to read Sun Tzu and you need to study. Sun Tzu will let you know. There's actually a rubric in Sun Tzu that will let you know who's going to win the fight.
I love what you said because, as I said off air, I listened to quite a few of your podcasts on other shows, and one of the things that you said that was articulating, and it's thoughts I had, but you articulated it so well and used Sun Tzu to sort of illustrate the point, was you said about the battle. Can you just talk about that, top of the hill versus bottom, and giving up bottom position?
Like the best ground is the high ground. And I was having the conversation in reference to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is antithetical to the art of war. It is the only grappling sport where you can choose the low ground and actually win, or be allowed to choose the low ground and not be penalized. There's no other sport where you can choose the low ground and not be penalized in terms of grappling. Karash doesn't do it. Sumo doesn't do it. Greco-Roman wrestling doesn't do it. Freestyle doesn't do it. Folk style doesn't do it. Judo doesn't do it. Sanshao doesn't do it. Senegalese wrestling doesn't do it. There's no form of wrestling or grappling where we allow somebody to choose the low ground and exist in an antithetical space to Sun Tzu's art of war. There's no army, there's no navy, there's no high-powered uh, armament force in this land that's going to say, hey, you know what we're going to do? Let's go down here in the valley and let's hide and shoot these guys at the top of the hill up there. And then when we take them, when we take them over, then it's ridiculous. And going back to the point that you made before, why is the philosophy or the framework from which we see a sport or an art important? It's important because it becomes a guiding light for how we see things. You and I are both practitioners of judo. The things that we've learned about judo, maximum efficiency, minimum effort, the things that we learned about judo in terms of being the gentle way, those things we use those things in life. We learn how to give away sometimes and turn that momentum into something else in terms of something positive. For those are the things that we learn. When you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you don't know, you don't really understand, but by default, you're learning inappropriate things to apply to your life because you're not learning the thing as it is. You're learning a bastardized version of what it is. Like you've taken the thing. If you're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, by default, you are a judo practitioner. There is impossible for you to think that you're anything else. But you've bastardized the judo and you're no longer learning the judo as you're supposed to learn it. You're supposed to learn Tachiwasa. You're supposed to learn Newasa. You're supposed to learn Kansetsu Wasa. Then you get Tewasa. And then then you learn your Ashiwasa. And then you learn your Kote Wasa. You start learning the wrist locks as you get deeper into judo. You get deeper into judo, you start learning judo not only as a sport, but as an art, but as a self-defense art. There is a way to learn judo to the point where it covers everything that you're doing. You can even learn judo without doing any judo. Somebody said, well, you can't learn judo online. Of course you can. I can teach you the history of judo. I can teach you the moves that are in the kata. I can teach you the vocabulary words. I can teach you how to count from 1 to 10. I can teach you the Dan ranking system that happens in the UK, the three that happen in the United States, the ones that happen in the IJF. I can teach you the parameters of a mat space. I can teach you the rules in terms of refereeing. I can teach you a lot about judo without you ever touching the mat and doing judo. And you can be a black belt like that. What do you mean? You can't be a black belt. You can be a black belt without doing a move because there's a standard canon of information that is available in judo, and you can be in a wheelchair and not move and still get a black belt in judo. That's the beauty of judo.
It's like, do you know that guy called the Sky King? That he basically, it's not a nice story per se, but he basically had a flight simulator at home and he worked at the airport. And one day he decided to steal a plane, flew the plane because he'd learned not by flying a plane, but on a virtual simulator. And he ended up like committing suicide, but he did a barrel roll and all these sorts of things because he learnt from this, as you said, the literature or practicing on a virtual version. And this is the funny thing though about what you said about the basically BJJ is judo, but it's Niwaza that's kind of, they've evolved it essentially to their own sport. But it's interesting because the Gracies have basically rebranded judo first of all, and you could say, well, why do they accept bottom position? Maybe it's because the Gracies got thrown like by Kimura and people like that, and they couldn't get top position where they had to say, well, actually, we'll just accept the fact that we've been thrown and work from there. And yes, it's okay in the cage where it's soft ground, but imagine that outside on concrete. It's a very different story.
You can't recover. You can't recover. If people say, I get no, you're not getting up. You're not getting up. If a quality black belt throws you outside on the concrete with the understanding of how on the self, there's a way to throw for sport and there's a way to throw for self-defense. I've gone over this in a YouTube video before, how you can throw flat. You do a Harai Goshi and you don't roll over. You do a Harai Goshi and you land flat. You're gonna break the ribs. The person's gonna be either concussed or the air and the wind's gonna be taken out of them. Worst case scenario, man, you end up hitting somebody with an Osoto Gari and actually kill them. Like there's a way to do these things in judo, and people who believe they can just hit the ground and recover, it's not so. The one thing that they remove out of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which they remove Daki Age out of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where if you pull guard, I can't pick you up and slam you.
That's stupid, isn't
But
it?
that's a very real technique in judo. The reason why when we pick people off the ground, they call mate is because of Daki Age exist.
You can kill someone like that because if they fall on the back of the head with
Yes,
power,
this is why we call Mate, because if the
yeah,
person picks you up and you can't keep them on the floor, then we call Mate and let you reset. You can't stop me from picking you up and then create a rule set that puts you back in the same position you're in. Now, once I pick you up off the floor, you either have to let me slam you, or you need to unlock your legs, or you need to start again from neutral.
100%. People don't understand how, like, I mean, you will have seen more than me. You know, rib breaks, windings, all this stuff from people getting thrown, and people have died from being thrown by judo throws. But definitely, and that's on a mat. You know, imagine
Mm.
on. I'd hate it.
Concrete. Yeah,
It'll
man.
be absolutely disgusting to have that happen. But I mean, that's why you say, as you said, it's not just a martial art and sport, or it's not just a sport. It is actually a self-defense martial art if used in the right way when you need to. It's not about, you know, trying to find fights or anything. It's if it's ever called upon, then you have that in your armory rather than pulling guard.
100%. 100%. 100%.
So what do you think the big difference is, other than how it's practiced, between the rule sets or how competitions work for judo and BJJ?
Oh, I think the biggest difference is, you know, when you're playing a video game and you master the video game, you've only mastered the executable file. Like the programmer has given you the executable file and you play, but you're playing within a small domain and you have this, you're playing within the executable file. He's giving you the file that you can play within. But the programmer has the whole program. I think the big difference is that in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they've mastered the game. I mean, they're very good at the game of Newaza, but they feel like what they've learned is the whole thing. And it's not the whole thing. It's a piece of the thing. And they have this framework where they want you to come play. They want the guy who designed Madden football to come play Madden with them. And if they can beat them, then they don't want to hear shit he has to say. Well, he fucking made the game, my man. Like he made, just because you can beat him in Madden doesn't mean that you're better at the overall understanding of Madden than he is. You're just a better gamer. And the one thing that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has done a poor job of, in my opinion, and I'm a fifth degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, okay, is they've created this culture of might makes right, where if a third degree black belt is supposed to be the blue belt, well, a third degree black belt can't always be the blue belt. Well, he's not a real black belt. Yeah, he is. He knows all the information. He just can't beat that guy. This shit happens. That doesn't mean that person's rank is no good because you can be. I had a white belt come into my place and said, well, you know, you told me jiu-jitsu and judo is the same thing, but I could beat your brown belts. I say, you can. You can. I said, but can you teach class? Can you teach Zempo Kaiten Ukemi? Can you teach Yoku Ukemi? Ushiro Ukemi? I said, can you teach that? He said, I don't know what that is. I said, right. I said, and that's why you're a white belt. I said, I said, because, but they've created this culture of, if I can beat your ass, then I don't need to listen to you, which I don't agree with. Now, we have a realm of that in judo, which allows people to get promoted through what we call Batsugan promotion, right? You go to a tournament, if you beat 3 or 5, whatever your governing body decides, people of the higher rank, then you can move up to the rank or you can get their rank. All right. We make space for that, but we also make space for time and grade understandings where it doesn't matter if you can beat me. If I've been here for 5 years and you just got here last month and you came over from wrestling, even if you can beat me, I'm still in charge. I still bow out the class. I still begin my uchikomi before you. I still throw on the crash pad throws before you throw, and you throw after I throw. Because it's a martial art, and the word martial means warlike. It's a martial art, which means we have rank and file inside of the art. We have an under and watch this. We have an understanding of the high ground and the low ground. And something as simple as the misunderstanding of thinking that the low ground is better than the high ground creates the 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 framework for a practitioner to think that just because I'm lower than you doesn't mean that I have to listen to you. It becomes pervasive in that community because that type of thinking permeates the fabric of the mind of the practitioner.
100%. And I think that's the issue with bottom as well, is that the whole point of being top is that if strikes are involved, I mean, you've done MMA, you don't want to be bottom. If someone's, even if you've got closed guard, if someone's raining down shots, you're not going to keep that closed guard for very long. And it happened to one of my friends recently who did MMA. He was trying to set up Sangaku from bottom, triangle for those who don't know Sangaku. And he got slammed twice in the middle of the ring. And then he did the same next round, and sort of a similar thing happened, and he ended up losing the fight. But it's because he didn't have top pressure that I mean, he went for the best thing he could without, considering he couldn't get out. But even then, as you said, it's very dangerous. But I just want to come back to what you said a second ago about the whole art. And maybe one of the issues with judo currently is that, yes, maybe we're not playing the whole game because we've taken away leg grabs, teigurumas, Murotagaris, etc. Do you
But,
think, and I think I
but
know what you're going to say about this, do you think this should come back?
no, I don't know if they should come back or not, but we haven't taken away anything.
In the sport side, yes, not in terms of the martial art itself, but in terms of sport.
The IGF there's more competitions than IGF competitions.
That's true. That's true.
There's other judo competitions available. The IGF has their set of rules. Those every dojo doesn't need to teach IJF judo. Every dojo should teach Kodokan judo. Every dojo. They should have classes for IGF judo. Just like we teach judo and then we have people go to BJJ competitions and we structure the rule set for those people. We should also have judo classes where we teach all of judo. People get everything that judo has to offer. And then we also have classes where, listen, this is more of an IGF judo class. In my kids' class, I don't stop the kids from touching the legs. The hell do I care if the kids touch the fucking legs at 6, 7 years old? I don't give a shit. Kids not going to the fucking Olympics, man. Kids in class grabbing the legs, doing doubles. I don't give a shit. Those kids will go to judo competitions, jiu-jitsu competitions, Greco competitions, freestyle competitions. They'll do everything, and they will experience everything that grappling has to provide through the lens of judo. I, Judo didn't take away leg grabs. You cannot do leg grabs in the IJF competitions. But judo didn't take away anything. Has everything that judo came with. And I don't understand why an instructor who has people in their class would stop teaching leg grabs when none of those fucking people are going to an IJF competition. Israel Hernandez told me this, two-time Olympic bronze medalist from Cuba. He says, my man, because that's how he always starts a sentence. He says, my man, teach everything. He says, teach all the judo. He says, judo is cyclical. He says, things leave and then they come back. He said, teach everything. Because what happens is this. If you just teach IGF judo, the black belt of today will know less than the black belt of 20 years ago.
Yeah, watered down.
I wouldn't even say watered down. And the reason why I don't say watered down is because that's like saying Greco-Roman wrestling is a watered down version of wrestling. It's not. The focus is just more myopic. There's things that the IGF trained black belt will know now that one didn't know 20 years ago, because as the game became more myopic, the gripping became more nuanced. Okay, there's places where I can't hang out waiting for a throw because I got to do Tegaruma. The setups are different. I don't call it a watered down version of judo. Just think about it. That's like me calling freestyle wrestling a watered down version of folk style wrestling.
True. Yeah.
because it doesn't have the same leg rides in it,
Yeah.
riding time. I just won't do it. It is just different. Every 4 years, we have a different version of judo that we have to train and practice if we are on the high level or the elite level, and we want to function in that space. And I love the iterative process. I love the gamesmanship that has to go on. I love the game theory that we have to apply. I love the changes in stratagem and tactics that we have to apply as coaches. I love watching videos and seeing certain things change. Like there's no more pushing somebody out of bounds. So you're watching players line up closer to the out of bounds and then moving back and wasting the time and getting pushed out of bounds because there's no penalty anymore. Now the coaches have learned how to game that. And then, within this 4 year cycle, the referee commission is going to have to find a way to stop people from gaming the system. Like I love it. I love all of it. For me, leg grabs or no leg grabs, I don't care. Doesn't bother me at all. If they say you got to hop on one leg and you can only use your left hand, that's fine with me too. Doesn't bother me at all. Whatever the rules are, I'll find a way.
But I think at the high level, though, surely you'd want to have as many techniques available because if someone's like super tall, super skinny, and you can't attack their legs, surely that's a disadvantage to the other
100%.
person or advantage the other way, if that makes
100%.
sense.
100%. The advantage of somebody who is tall is they get to use their legs. The disadvantage of somebody that is short, excuse me, the disadvantage of somebody that is tall is you get to attack their legs. But when you have somebody like Teddy Riner who's 6'8" and you can't attack his legs, Teddy Riner, okay? I love Teddy Riner, okay? Love him. Love him, love him, love him. Um, this is going to be controversial. I don't hold Teddy Riner in the same light as I hold David Douillet. David Douillet fought under a different rule set. Okay. He fought on a different rule set. At 6'8", okay, Teddy Riner would be double legged by somebody several times. And because of the double legs, it would change his posture. He'd have to have more knee bend, which means that when he opens up to do the Osoto, you would see that movement before the Osoto got there, and you'd be able to make a counter movement before the Osoto reached. But because he doesn't fight under those rule sets, I don't hold him in the same esteem. And because he doesn't fall on those rule sets, you don't have the same amount of variability in terms of his finishes. Okay, he's not acquiring that many gold medals under that rule set. The best judo player that I've ever seen, Kosei Inoue.
Why? Uchimata?
For you to be able to apply Uchimata, Osoto, and Ouchigari under that rule set with double legs and Teguruma and Sakuri Nagi and make it through and be dominant for 3 years like he was, unbelievable. Like unbelievable. That run from 1999, 2000, 2001, I believe it was for him, was incredible. Incredible.
It does affect the technique. So regardless of the leg grab situation, as you said about posture, I think when people are bent over more, that's why I think Tartoshi was much bigger technique before than it is now. Because obviously Uchimata, if someone does a bad one, take Ruma, boom. Now you're not punished for bad Uchimatas. People hop off it. Yes, you've got Sakashis, but I from looking back at sort of old footage, there tended to be more Tartoshis than there are now because of the fact that you could defend via take rumor and other methods. So it does, as you said, every iteration of judo will change based on the rule set, the
Correct.
IGF imprint, but
Correct.
the whole of judo is still there, is what you're saying.
Right. And the IGF will come out with these reports and saying, well, we have more Eppones, we have more this, we have more that. Yeah, you got more Eppones in the first 2, 3 rounds because you're making a different rule. You got a different rule change or a different rule set. Um, they come out with these reports to validate the rule changes that they've made, whereas the rule changes don't have as much as effect on the judo as they have on the outcomes. So the outcomes change, but it's not like the judo's gotten better. You know what I'm saying? It's not better judo that's happening. It's the same judo. It's just how the coaches and athletes apply the strategy to this particular rule set and the tactics to this particular rule set.
So you think, so you mentioned earlier like the 5 aspects: the conditioning, the strength, the tactics, etc., etc. So for what you're saying is that the technique hasn't changed. Technique's still top level for high level athletes, but what you're saying is that the strategy and tactics are more important now due to the rule sets, due to the fact that there's not much difference in technique and ability and conditioning. That part is probably the most important thing now to get the quote unquote success and the wins.
100%. So let's use you for an example, Jeevan. If you came to me and you asked me to prepare you for we're gonna do a Rhadi GPT, okay?
Okay.
You asked me to prepare you for the Veteran World Championships, all right? The first thing that I would do is I'd make you go get a VO2 max test first. And then secondly, I would test your strength. And then I wouldn't touch any of your technique. I don't give a shit about your technique. Your technique is bullshit. The technical delta between you and the Japanese dude in your division, I can't close that in fucking 12 months.
That's true.
I can't. So why the fuck would I waste my time with that shit? I can't close it. The difference between you and the guy from France, I can't fucking close that. Now, where you are with everybody else, the question is, how much strength can we develop in between this time? How much conditioning can we develop? Well, fuck, man. We can accrue a hell of a lot of strength in that time and a lot of conditioning. We can improve your conditioning. I can give you a Tabata on a road gecko bike, all right? And we can find out how many fucking calories you can crank out on that Tabata on that road gecko bike, all right? And then we can put a protocol together and then test you 6 weeks later and see how many calories you crank out, and then put you on a protocol and test you 6 weeks later. And if you can crank out, if only the first time you crank out 60 calories, and the next time you can crank out 81 or 78, we know you gotten in better what?
Shape.
You got in better shape. When you're in better shape, okay, you're gonna make better what?
Decisions and entries.
Decisions. You're gonna make better decisions. You making better decisions than judo means your hands are going to be where they're supposed to be. Your feet are going to be where they're supposed to be. You have better kinesthetic awareness of where you are in 3 dimensions. You're going to make just better decisions. No matter what strategy I give you, if I can increase your conditioning, you'll be able to implement that strategy and the tactics that I'm asking you to do in the environment of play. So fuck the technique. I don't give a fuck about how many uchikomis you do. Take the fucking uchikomis, stick them square up your ass. It means shit at that level. At that level, it means nothing. People, well, it's beautiful technique, bro. You can be the most technical 8-year-old in the world. You can't fucking throw me. Why?
Because of the size, of the strength.
You're not strong enough.
Yeah.
Not strong enough.
Well, there's 2 things I want to say. One is that, yeah, technique only matters up to a certain level. We had this conversation actually 2 days ago, is that your technique could be like Mariyama, right, is Uchimata. But when he fights someone 150 kilo, it doesn't really matter how good his technique is because he's too big. The other point I want to make is that I was on a forum once reading about dogs because I've got 2 boxer dogs. And I stumbled across someone talking about dog fighting. Now, I'm not for dog fighting at all, but it intrigued me what they were going to say. And this one guy said, I'm not proud of this. I used to be involved in dog fighting a lot, like 20, 30 years ago. And he said the 2 dogs that were the best were the Pit Bull and the Tosa Inu. And do you want to know why, he said? He says because they were the fittest dogs. They used to allow the other dogs to attack them for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And when the other dog was tired, they used to go for the throat and kill them. And it's kind of what you're saying is it's not about the technique and the ability. It's the conditioning and fitness that allows you to get to the point of killing or ippon or whatever. It's more likely to happen based on the fact that you're fitter and in better condition.
So there's a way to game the system. I don't like giving away some of this stuff because it's some of the things is Dr. Chris Brown and I work on with our clients. But I will, for the sake of your podcast and to keep your viewership up, I will say this. Let's look at the chronological landscape of a judo match. All right. Let's look at let's look at a 4 minute match. You and I, a 4 minute match. Made up in 12, 20-second blocks.
Okay.
All right. Let me ask you a question. When the referee says Hajime and the match starts, what is the likelihood in second one to get a Shido?
In second one, probably zero. 0%
0%.
chance.
Second two.
Still probably 0% chance.
Second 10.
10%, 20% chance maybe.
Second 20.
Second 20%, maybe 25, 30% chance.
Okay. So out of all the matches you've seen, I'm going to reduce it. Out of all the matches you've seen, how many times you seen somebody get a penalty in 20 seconds for non-combativity?
I don't know, maybe 10%, less than 10%.
Less than 10%.
Yeah.
Damn near what?
Now, damn near zero.
Damn near never. So, in the first 20 seconds of the match, what do I need to do?
Well, you're not going to get Shido anyway, so I need to make sure that I'm getting my good grips. Kumikata.
Now, if both players aren't engaging in the kumikata, both can end up getting a penalty, but they're not getting it in 20 seconds because the IGF rules, they already made it known that you can set up your grips for almost 20 to 40 seconds. So do I need to attack in the first 20-second block?
No, because I think if you try to be too, premature ejaculation and go too early, that you are going to leave yourself open to attacks that you've overreached or you've overstretched
Okay,
or
let's
whatever.
stop. Let's stop. So now we have the first 20-second block programmed out now, right? It's already programmed out. Now, the second 20-second block, do they give Shidos out then?
Yeah.
They do. They do. But in order for me to get a Shido in the second 20-second block, that would mean that you have attacked twice in the first 20-second block. And then I let you attack for the third time in the second 20-second block. So we're going to establish a rule all the time that we're always 2-to-1. Meaning, if you attack twice, I have to attack once. You attack twice, I have to attack once. No matter what the block is. You attack twice, I have to attack once. Because I want you spending 2 more energy dollars to my 1 energy dollar. Now, we're in the second 20-second block now, right? You attack. When you attack, I immediately engage in what?
Jigatai or counter or Newaza, maybe.
My Newaza attack now with the IGF counts as a what?
Attack.
As an attack. So you've attacked once and I've attacked once, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Mate. Now we're in the third 20-second block. Now in this third 20-second block, what do I have to do?
Attack some more.
I don't have to do shit. I've attacked already in Newaza.
Okay, so
and you've attacked.
I need to reestablish dominant grip.
100%. We reestablished the dominant grip. Now, in this particular block, we need to know the referee. So here is where we start using our what?
Strategy. Tactics.
What waza are we going to use?
Tachiwaza.
Ashiwaza.
Ashiwaza, yeah.
because Ashiwaza is going to provide us with attacks that provide a low level of what?
Low risk,
Low risk, high what?
reward,
Maximum efficiency, minimum what?
effort.
So I'm working the Ashiwaza, gripping, oh, look, Osoto fake, dragon. Now I'm working. I'm working in this block hard to make you make a what?
Mistake or a false attack
False
or
what?
false
A
attack.
false attack. Because a false attack will get you a Shido. We can't get a Shido for non-combativity because we both have been attacking at the same rate. My job, okay, in the third and fourth 20-second block is to get up by one what?
Shido.
That's as much as I'm giving on this podcast, but I will say this as the last particular thing. Now you need to go back and look at the statistics of what happens when somebody gets the Shido first.
I tell you what's interesting because you've like look what if I was to say or someone was to say look how do you win, well just throw someone for a pond. But what you've done is you've broken it down into like a military strategy and say look okay what do we need to do in the first 20 seconds, what do we need to do in the next 20 seconds, and what does that end result look like. It's like starting writing a book, for example, and I know you've written for yourself. We don't just go to the end and say the end. This is you say okay, what's happening in this chapter? What's happening in this chapter? What's the arc of the story? What's the middle, beginning, and end? And then you start breaking. Okay, this chapter is this. Okay, how does that break down? How does that break down? Because I've written books myself as well, and it's that very same process of breaking stuff down. And it's interesting that you are going into or coaching people, or obviously as yourself going in, and you have this strategy in mind.
I don't believe, all right. I work with a guy by the name of Dr. Chris Brown, and he's probably the best data analyst in the world as it pertains to judo. I will put myself at a mid-range fifth place because I know there's some people ahead of me there. Um, I haven't seen anybody, nor do I know of anybody who is doing the work that we're doing like this in terms of judo. There's nobody close. I don't give a shit if you coach Olympic champions. There's nobody who's looking at the data and studying the judo like this at this level. And I know it's a level of hubris and arrogance to say that, but it's the stuff that we're doing. It's just not being done. It's not being done. It's so cutting edge. It's not being done. He also has his PhD. The things that we're doing in the man, we did the data analytics for Kayla Harrison before her last Olympic gold medal, and we took the data and created a scouting report based upon the data. We gave the scouting report to Jimmy Pedro. Jimmy Pedro then created and curated his practices based upon the scouting report because now all the practices are now data driven. The things that we're doing because we understand the way that judo matches are won. Like, man, not only how they're won, but how they're won per region, per referee, per per chief referee. Like everybody has biases. Everybody. I got my own. But every person, when they come to the table, they have their own bias, and no matter what they think, and if bias isn't bad, we all have it, okay, based upon our own personal experiences. When you see these particular things, you begin to understand how judo matches are played and how they're won.
It reminds me of. Have you ever seen the film Moneyball? It reminds me of that, where they obviously collated a team and they looked
That
past.
that
They
that
looked.
that that, that is exactly what we do.
It's good because people look past, and you said the biases. They're like, oh, he looks a bit dodgy. His arm for the throws. No, we don't want him. But what they did is they just looked at the stats. Interceptions or first first serves, if it's tennis or whatever. And they looked at it in a mathematical way, and then they looked at the difference between the real value and what people were willing to pay, and getting things at a cheap price. So I quite like the fact that you're doing it in an analytical way rather than just technique, because it's interesting because you've got a real no bullshit approach. A lot of people would say, "Oh, you just need to do more Uchikomi," and I love
No,
what you said. It's like
fuck Uchikomi.
you cannot bridge the
Fuck
gap between
Uchikomi,
this
man. Yeah,
Japanese.
fuck Uchikomi. Uchikomi's fucking useless. Fuck Uchikomi, man. Bro, the four parts of a judo throw, all right, are kumikata, kazushi, sakuri, and kake. What part does Uchikomi work on?
Uh, Kazushi only probably. Well,
No,
entry. No, the
the
entry.
sakuri. It works on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sakuri part.
entry. Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't work on, it loosely works on the kazushi part, but the kazushi that you do when you're practicing uchikomi, that's not how the kazushi happens dynamically.
Yeah, it's
But you
true.
have to do it like that so that you can identify when the kazushi happens. But it's better to do things moving, pick up and throwing, or moving and when I mean fuck uchikomi, I'm talking about static uchikomi. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't mind if you and I go Sasao Soto or Soto Sasai, and I go and then you go Sasao Soto or Soto Sasai, Sasao Soto. We're still doing Uchikomi, but it's in a dynamic fashion and we're moving. All right. So that we can identify the moment of when we need to throw or identify what we call the sweet spot. But just to be sitting there pumping out, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Come on.
So what would
Very,
your
very,
sort of
very rarely, like I still put people on the wall to do a Uchigari because you still got to get the steps down. Um, I still do the Ashibirai, bum, bum, sweep, sweep. I still do some things like that. But to be sitting in a line, pumping out, 10 Uchikomi all the way down the line for 20, 30 minutes, bro, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing
don't you think though that it can offer some benefits in terms of explosiveness and cardio fitness and just knowing
Yeah,
when to put your
yeah,
hands
so does a power clean and a one-arm dumbbell snatch.
through?
Spend your time doing Nagi Komi.
Yeah, throw for those people who don't know.
Nagi Komi on a crash pad too. Spend your time doing the throws on the crash pad. And don't stand sideways and do the throw because you're not getting full rotation. You're just picking up and dumping. Put your back to the crash pad, full rotate, and boom, and throw. All you're doing now, you're doing what? You're doing a rotational power clean, a rotational snatch, a rotational, yeah, this is what you want.
So what would your sort of ideal session be then? If it's not Uchikomi, if it's not just doing things for the hell of it, what would your sort of and again, you seem the kind of person who would be more
It
bespoke
depends.
anyway.
Listen, what are we talking about? Kids class or adult class?
So this is what I like is that you're specifying what our goals are.
Yeah, because first, before we do anything, we need to understand the population. What's the population? Kids or adults?
Let's say adults.
Okay, adult class. What are we working on today? We groundwork or we Tachiwaza?
Tachiwaza.
Okay, we're Tachiwaza. Good. Do I have a class of white to orange or do I have a class of browns and blacks?
Let's say blues to blacks.
Blues to blacks? Absolutely fantastic. Here's what I'm doing. We're running around the dojo just to get the core body temperature up for 5 minutes, and then we're doing Ashiwaza. I'll just say this. We'll set the clock for 5 3-minute rounds with 30 seconds off. We'll go, I'll say I want outside, outside, inside, inside. I said, what's that? And I got this from my man, Dr. Chris Brown. Your leg touches the outside of their legs on the outside of the legs, and then it touches the inside of the legs. So it will be, I can do Sasai Soto, Kouchi Soto, Kouchi Uchi, and then the other person goes. They can go Osoto, move, Osoto, Sasai. Um, um, They can do Osoto, Sasai, and they can do Kouchi, boom, and then Kouchi again. The other person goes Osoto, Osoto, Kouchi, Kouchi. And they just go back and forth, just Ashiwasu, just moving, moving. and then it increases. And then what you want to do is you want to reduce the amortization phase, which means that the time of their last Ashiwaza move, when you come out of that Sasai, boom, you want to get your Osoto off right away. And then your Kosoto off right away. And then your Ko-Uchi off right away. And then your O-Uchi. And as soon as you finish that O-Uchi, boom, they need to be right on there on that moving, 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 moving. Nobody's falling, nobody's getting hurt because I got a class of adults that have to go to what in the morning?
Work.
They got to go to work. We'll keep that particular pace up. Then we'll change what we do. We'll go inside, inside, pick up. So they go Ouchi, Ko-Uchi, Seanagi, pick up. Other person goes. Ouchi goes, Seanagi. But we'll do this for another 5 3-minute rounds. Man, people are tired, tongue is hanging out. All right. Then what we're doing next? We're on the crash pad. 15 minutes. Throws. And then we're out of there. Sometimes I put the dummies out and I give the count 5 or 4, how many throws I want. I set the clock for about 12 minutes. You run out, you do your 4 throws, you run back to the wall. And everybody's going out. I give the throws. Koshiguruma, Seonagi, Harai Goshi all the way to the floor. Tao Toshi. Nobody's taking any big falls in that class. Nobody's falling on the ground. Everybody's tired and we all go home and nobody's hurt.
So so we've talked a lot about Ashiwaza, and I understand that that's a big thing for you, and it should be, of course. But what about a forwards and a backwards throw? What's your if you got to only have one forwards throw and one backwards throw? And I know this is hypothetical. What would that be, or what would be the starting 2 throws that you would teach?
Seonagi.
Ippon or Morote?
Seonagi. Not Ippon Seonagi. Seonagi off the lapel.
Off lapel, yeah, Morote. And what about backwards?
No, not Morote. Ippon Seonagi is when if I have my left hand on the sleeve and I'm doing Ippon Seonagi on the arm.
Yeah.
I just want Seonagi. My left hand is on the lapel.
Oh yeah. Okay, so that variation.
The reason being is because the Ippon Seonagi gives me the option of Ippon Osoto, Ippon Ko-Uchi, Ippon O-Uchi, and Ippon Kosoto.
Yeah.
I get Ippon Osoto, Ippon Ko-Uchi, Ippon O-Uchi, and Ippon Kosoto. I get all that with Ippon. I mean, so I get all that with Seonagi, excuse me.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well. We always talk about this as well at the club. It's like you get taught Ippon Seonagi from the sleeve. If you look at all high level competition, all the Ippon Seonagis are off lapel from the left hand turned right hand side, or all the way around. You know, you're right handed player when you turn the other way, which is funny because it's always taught off the sleeve.
And it should be taught off the sleeve for beginners, because if you teach it off the lapel for beginners, a white belt will put their hand on the what?
On the floor.
On the ground.
Break your arm.
Correct. Judo is taught in a way that the safety mechanisms are already inside of the art. You don't teach a beginner Harai Goshi or Uchimata out of the gate. Do you? No. We'll teach them Osoto and Ouchi and things where they can fall on their butt, or if they put their hand on the ground, they won't, because we got the sleeve the way that we're teaching it. Osoto, and we tell them, hold on to the sleeve and hold on to that's so the person doesn't put their hand on the ground. You won't do Koshiguruma and you won't do the Harai and the Uchimata until you've learned Zempo Kaiten Ukemi, until you learn how to roll, when you learn those sort of things and how to fall, and you're jumping over the people and falling. The reason why the kids do that is so they can get used to falling when they're being thrown Uchimata, Harai, Goshi, etc. Or when they're doing Randori, they don't put their hand on the ground. They know how to fall safely. Like, these things are in place for a reason in Judo.
It is
When you bypass these things and put people on the ground and just start teaching arm bars and chokes and so, don't get me wrong, I do some of these things too on the dummy, because I'm in a market in the United States where if I don't teach somebody sexy when they come into practice, they will leave. I can't have a beginner come in and teach them how to fall on their back and on their side and sign them up. That's not going to work. You know, I got to put them on a dummy and teach them some cool stuff. And put them on a dummy so they're not hurting anybody, they're not hurting themselves, and then I'll teach the falls and the other things along the way.
Yeah, you've got to put the pretty woman in the window with the bikini on, haven't you? Sometimes.
Correct. In the United States, you got to put the pretty person in the window.
Literally, but
right, exactly.
It's like you say though, isn't it? You've got to have the balance between commercial enterprise, but also safety and all of the looking after the members and things like that. But yeah, as you say, you have to understand the psychology of people. People want to come in and learn, how do I, Yoko. I saw a Yoko Tomo on TV. It was
Like,
amazing.
how
I
do
mean,
I
they
how
don't know
do
it's
I
called
do?
that,
They
but
want to come in on Monday and learn how do I do that shit I saw on the UFC Saturday night.
literally.
Literally, which is ridiculous, but you got to know your market. You got to know your market.
Yeah, like I did Yoko Tomo on someone the other day, and they go, "Oh, that was awesome. Can you show me that?" I said, "Listen, mate, you've done 6 sessions. It's probably a bit, it's probably a bit high level for you. Just focus on, you've not thrown anyone with Ogoshi even, which is probably one of the easiest throws to, I think, mechanically, just for someone to do when they're a beginner. Getting it in randori is a little bit difficult because obviously people have getting the grip around the waist a bit different. But in terms of actually just the mechanics of throwing, I think it's quite a simple one for people to understand. But I was like, yeah, just focus on some basics first before you start doing not even normal Tomo where it's backwards. You're doing like a side one where they're spinning off. Yeah,
Right,
just
side, right,
you leave it for now, mate.
100%.
Right, just do 2 minute break and we'll be back.
Okay, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. What do
Yeah.
we want to get into next?
Well, we'll sort that out in a second. So we're back. Got myself a fresh coffee. We're ready to go.
Let's
So
do it. Let's do it.
so we've talked a lot about judo and things from your and BJJ, of course, but from your side, you've had sort of those two arts or one art essentially, judo, and you've also gone into MMA. How did that transition come about? Was it a conscious decision, or were you sort of pushed into it, kind of? And how did that work out for you in terms of transitioning your judo skills into MMA?
So I finished judo in 2005, and I was training for ADCC, and quite honestly, the training was easy. Um, I was also training some guys in MMA at American Top Team at the time, and the practices were just easy, like easy. And I don't say that in any level of disrespect to the people who are doing MMA, but coming off of training for the Olympics in judo, you know, BJJ practice is, I mean, it's not even, it doesn't even, it's not even, it doesn't even rank anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even rank anywhere. That's like going to they try to compare a high level grappling class with the 1 week training camp after the Paris Open. Bro, it's like, it's, it's not even in the same hemisphere. Um, it was pretty easy, and the only thing that I didn't know was the striking, and I was intrigued. And then in 2010, I was like, man, let me try, let me do the MMA thing and give it a try. And the best person at the time was Rashad Evans. So I flew out and I went to train with Rashad. I just showed up, man. I went to train. I went to train with Rashad Evans. I got beat to shit. Okay. I did well on the takedowns against the cage. I did well on the regular takedowns. We did the stand up, grappling and wrestling. But on the MMA side, when we coupled the striking with the, we would call MMA grappling, I got murdered. It just wasn't even close. I saw at that time there was no pathway for me to do anything in the UFC. The level was just too high at my particular age, and the time that I was going to be in MMA per what I needed to learn in order to get to the top. I didn't have the time. I had two contract options. I had a contract from Bellator, and I had a contract from Strikeforce. I took the one for Strikeforce, and I started doing MMA. And I ended up with, I had 2 fights, and I had my Strikeforce fight, and I ended up with 3 fights, and I went 3-0, and I was done. That was just Strikeforce got bought by the UFC. Um, my money wasn't increasing that where I thought it was going to increase with Strikeforce after the first fight. UFC said they wanted me to do another Strikeforce Challengers fight, which was just like $3,500 and 35 or 3,000 to show, 3,000 to win. And I was done, man. It was over with. There was no pathway for me to win anything in MMA. I was just too old at the time. I could see everything that was happening to me. I just couldn't stop it from happening. Um, but I loved it. I learned a lot from it. I learned a lot coaching it. I learned a lot doing it. But there was just no pathway for me to be good. And I was tired, man. And my body was beat to shit by that time.
How old were you at the time?
We're talking 2011. It's 2021. I'm 50 now. It's like 38, 37, something like that.
So about my age, roughly.
Yeah. Just too slow, man. Too slow.
What about,
Too-
you said about the striking? Weren't you fight? Is it your cousin Kimbo Slice?
I've trained with Kimbo. I trained with Kimbo before. I trained with him. That would he he was learning martial arts as he evolved. He got better and better as he evolved. But training with him, it was everybody in that gym in the American top team could beat him. Everybody. Like everybody. Like everybody.
That's crazy.
They just, I mean, they're just, a lot of those people were lifelong martial artists. You know what I mean? They're black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in there. You know what I mean? He's not beating a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like that, on the ground. He's just not doing it. He's not going to stop somebody who's been wrestling for years from taking him down. But listen, he humbled himself. He came in there to learn. He never tried to big dog anybody. We had great training sessions when we trained. Like great.
And there's been quite a few people who have gone across from judo to, or with a judo background into UFC. Marab talks about it, Kara Parisian and Ronda Rousey. Why do you think that there's not been as many people as maybe there should be? Because as you said, the training sessions and just the level of high level judo, people don't really understand how good these people are, genuinely.
First and foremost, let's go back to what we talked about in the beginning. The culture of judo doesn't fit well with the culture of MMA. They're just different. Like in judo, you don't win a fight in judo and then talk shit. You just don't do it. Two people fight and then they shake hands, or you'll train with the same person all week and then fight that person in the same tournament. You'll fight them, train all week, and then fight them again in another city, another country. It's just very, very different. The culture that we have in judo. It's even different than wrestling. In wrestling, they don't many times they don't train with their training partners. They got their own training partners. In judo, you could be ranked second or third in the country, and the people in your dojo or your training hall, the fourth and the fifth ranked guy there, and the first rank, and all of you guys will train together every day. Every day. There's no, I'm not training with him and these are my train. That's not judo is different like that. It's just very, very different. Um, we don't have a culture that says, hey man, after you get the Olympic gold medal, then you go on to MMA. We have people who are doing it now, because they see it as a pathway to make some money. I think some of the early judoka who made money, Dan Severn, Don Fry, Yoshida, Carl Parisian, and probably one of the most famous judo players ever in the UFC, Horace Gracie. You see how I did that? That was good.
It's true. It's true. He trained judo.
That's all he trained is judo. That's the only thing what else could he train? His dad learned judo and he learned judo from his dad. He hasn't learned anything else. That's what he knows. He's a black belt in judo.
Rebranded, mate. That's all it is. This
That's
is
it.
rebrand.
He's a black belt in judo.
Clever guys. And the thing is, like in the West, especially like the USA and the UK, BJJ is a big thing. But outside, judo is like one of the most practiced sports as in per country, like the amount of countries that participate. So it's only really the two, the two Western countries. And the other thing that makes me laugh is, they talk about, or they commentate on, side control and scarf hold and, all of these BJJ names, but, or, hip toss and outside trip. Why not just use the judo names? I think that's another issue with
I don't know.
visibility.
We have a problem, especially in the British colonized countries of anti-intellectualism right now, where it's cool to be fucking stupid and not learn shit.
That's so true.
Um, where it's like, well, I don't need to speak Japanese, and yeah, okay, motherfucker. The difference is this: if I go to any country in the world, I don't speak fluent Japanese, but I can provide them the difference between Migi and Hadari, left and right, of Seoinage. I can teach Kuzuri Case Gatame into Muni Gatame, into Ushiro Case Gatame, into Tatishiro Gatame, into Juji Gatame. And I can teach, I can't get in that room and be like, okay, I'm in side control here, and then I put my hand here, and then I move to the 100 kilo position, and then nobody knows what the fuck that is, man. And they don't understand that their lack of consistent nomenclature actually stops the propagation and the growth of the sport.
100%. And I think as well, like it's all about specificity. Like if I say, oh, I've got a red jumper on versus a scarlet jumper, a ruby jumper, or I threw with my hips. Was it ogoshi? Was it koshiguruma? Was it
Right.
harai with the leg? And you automatically know with that language used the nuance to how what was done, rather than explaining, oh, so I had my arm round. That's the whole point in words, is to
Correct.
quickly establish exactly what you mean in the shortest way, quickest way possible to
So
allow for discourse.
if you ask me, you say, hey man, I'm having a problem with throwing this person with Harai Goshi. I was like, okay. The next question I'm going to ask you is what?
Left or right, what grip you got?
Correct. Is it Ayotsu or Kenkayotsu, right?
Yeah,
In wrestling, they would ask you left leg lead or right leg lead
yeah.
because that matters. The whole thing changes with that.
Literally.
Literally. Like I can teach Seoinage, and when you first learn it, we all learn it from a square stance. That's it. But the stance isn't square. Now you got to learn it from, is it Ayotsu or is it Kenkayotsu? And if it's Kenkayotsu, then the fucking hand placement is different. How can I do a right side Seoinage off the lapel in Kenkayotsu? Like fuck, man, I can't.
You'd have to
Not
stab the
unless
leg across to then turn
I
around.
gotta take my right hand and beat your left hand off,
Yeah,
and then do a kosoto or an o-uchi to back that leg up, and then I can throw Seoinage. Correct?
correct.
Or I gotta go Seoinage kosoto, boom, with the leg coming on the outside.
Yeah.
Right. But those things make a difference. But they don't have those. It's like, how do I get out of case Katami? All right. Okay. Well, you get out like this. Well, first of all, my man, that's not case Katami. I don't know what the fuck that is. I said, because case Katami, the arm goes over the arm and hook. It's not underneath the arm with the head. So you're showing all these escapes online where the guy's grabbing this and they're going around the head. That's not case Katami. That's not even a fucking move in judo. That's nothing. Like that would be a Kazuri case Katami, a Kazuri version of case Katami. But for me to do case Katami correct, my arm has a wrap, okay, and then the other arm goes over the head. And
100%. Rather than making up these
and
stupid names for it, lasso, this, that.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And that's why we have the term juji for entanglement.
Yeah, did you tell me?
Right.
But it's
Right.
interesting. Like even in the UFC, the only um, sort of judo words I use is really uchimata. It's the only, everything's uchimata to the layman.
Yes,
Every single judo through is uchimata.
Uchimata. Even the Haragoshi's Uchimata. And then they'll say Ashigarami. That's what they'll say.
Yeah, ashigarami. Yeah.
Ashigarami for the leg locks, and they don't even know the difference between Ashigarami and Ashigatami. That's just it. But it's okay, man. I mean, it hurts the propagation of sport. But we've had plenty of people who've transferred over who have done well. I think Kayla Harrison is doing extremely well right now, and I think one of the pioneers, not even one of the pioneers on the women's side in terms of the UFC. I mean, Ronda will always be a she'll always be a pioneer in MMA in her time period, but she is the chief pioneer on the women's side as it pertains to the UFC. There
Yeah.
were women like Roxanne Modafferi. I always mess up her last name, and I'm so sad that I butcher it because Roxanne is an icon in the sport. Um, she was there way before Ronda got there. There are a lot of women there way before Ronda got there. Like Cyborg was there before Ronda got there. But Ronda made an impact in MMA and in women's sports because she was the person who got women in the UFC
She was
100%.
she was a beast, man. Like that Koshiguruma Harai leg straight into armbar is like something she's practiced. Like that's just judo practice. You throw straight into sub, throw, and she just get hand to hands weren't the best, but she's got in, bam, smash straight into Jukatami.
Yeah.
Job
What
done
what
first
ki-
round.
what kills me is when I hear people say, "Oh, she was a one-trick pony." She's a
That's all you need.
Yeah, but to think that somebody who placed third in the Olympics only knows one fucking move, okay? Like is a Rokudan and only knows a 6 degree black belt, okay? A red and white belt, and only knows one fucking move. You got to be killing me. You got to be kidding me. Like she she only needed one move.
The thing is, you need to understand all of the other moves to defend them. Even if you're not going to do them, you need to understand the mechanics to defend them. Like Zukashi, you need to understand to reverse the hand and reverse the lapel in order to get it. So you, even if you don't really do it, you need to understand the mechanics in order to be able to do a technique.
Right.
You need to understand Seoinage in order to defend it. Jigatai, get your hips lower than theirs, or maybe the grip to push them off or whatever. So yeah, it is a ridiculous statement.
And it's so I like when you talk about that. The Sukashi is the, and I wrote this on the board the other day in the dojo. It's a literal transference of you at first have the hikite and the surite, and when the Sukiyashi happens, I have control of the hikite and the surite. Like that transfer of energy and force that happens with that movement, like to explain that and the beauty of it to a practitioner is just, I mean, something that gives me extreme joy as an educator or as a facilitator of the educational process. But to take that level of understanding and then move it into MMA, people don't understand why people who do judo, they're just so far ahead. I remember somebody was like, "Well, Hector Lombard never uses his judo." I said, "Hector Lombard uses judo in every fight that he fights." I said, "Because Hector Lombard understands space better than anybody that he's fighting. He understands space." They say, "Well, when Hector got to the UFC," I say, I said, Hector went to the Olympics in 2000. I said, by the time he got to the UFC, he's just older. Age impacts all of us. We all get a half a step slower. We all see things and then we can't do them right away. That doesn't have anything to do with Hector not being a great MMA fighter. He spent the majority of his time in Bellator. That's where his money was. People don't understand, man. Hector lived in Cuba. He defected from Cuba, went to Australia, learned English in Australia, created a living and a life for himself, fought, used his judo background to build himself and his person and his career up, and then had an opportunity to fight in Bellator after doing the shows in Australia, made a life for himself, and then went to the UFC. Man, the dude did an amazing job coming from the platform of judo. Like amazing. And people getting on him because he wasn't a UFC champion. Who gives a shit?
Still at that level. And it's like with
Oh, it's still high
Ronda, you talk about
level.
age. She's fighting again soon, isn't she?
Excuse me, I missed what you said.
Ronda's talking about age. Ronda's fighting again soon, isn't she? I believe.
Yeah, she's fighting again. She's fighting Gina Carano. It's a decent fight. I think Ronda is first of all, people who don't know Ronda, you cannot like it is not a nicer human being. Like she's just fucking nice. Um, just a sweet person. I mean, she will send a message to my daughter or talk to my daughter every once in a while. Her mom is excellent people. She's just amazing. You know, Rhonda's amazing. She never pulls that big dog shit where she's just too. I mean, I don't call her all the time because I'm not trying to bother her. But if I text her or call, man, she'll answer the phone. She'll respond back. She's never on no bullshit. Her friends when they need help, man, she helps. I think people get so caught up in her online persona. You know what I mean? Like she's a master fucking marketer and fucking emotional manipulator. Like she really learned the game well of how to be a heel and how to be disliked by people in order to increase the amount of money that you make. And that's hard for some people to do, but she's able to do it because she understands the type of money that it makes. Um, she's a fucking genius, man. She's a genius. Within her realm and her space, she's a genius.
Well,
100%.
she's playing off the
100.
fact that people need someone to hate. Someone need a villain, and yeah, as you say, the hatred creates the spectacle of wanting to watch the fight. But even she said, I saw the interview or the speech she gave about the pay in the UFC and talking about obviously Conor McGregor and herself and John Jones and all these athletes that feel like they've been underpaid, and Dana and the shareholders are basically taking everything. So it's interesting to see that because she speaks her mind as well, which is good.
Dana couldn't say nothing but great things about Ronda during her career. Dana's never shitted on Ronda, okay, at all. Ronda is now quote unquote shitting on Dana in the UFC. Ronda don't have no problem with Dana. Ronda doesn't have any problem with the UFC. Ronda, like Ronda never wanted to fight on Paramount Plus. What the fuck did Ronda need to fight on Paramount Plus for? What does she need the UFC for? Ronda's fan base is on fucking Netflix. Why is Ronda's fan base on Netflix? You know, Jeevan?
No.
Because the fucking WWE is on Netflix.
Oh shit! I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
Ronda doesn't give a fuck about Paramount Plus. Like Ronda's fan base, the people who are going to watch Ronda are on Netflix. I don't know what Ronda's gonna do. I can literally see Ronda fighting this fight, jumping back into the fucking WWE for maybe a year and a half, and then fucking being done for good. Easy. And she can bring Gina with her if she wants to or not, depending on what type of time she wants to have.
Yeah, she's a superstar, no doubt.
Ronda's a superstar. People don't understand. Look at the command of the fucking gate. Like Ronda, like right now, the discussion in MMA right now is not the UFC White House card. The discussion in MMA right now is Ronda Rousey. And Dana White is in a fucking pickle because he's talked shit about John Jones, and John Jones is like, well, if you got a problem with motherfucker, let me go. And listen to this. If he lets fucking John Jones go today, John Jones will be on that fucking Netflix card tomorrow.
Literally, I think
Literally.
literally, yeah. It's a crazy world, isn't it? With like ownership rights of athletes, and because what people don't understand is yes, you're signed for something, and you're an employee, whatever you want to call it. But once you've built up your name and status, you are now the product. You can basically do whatever you want because you are the prize. You are what people want to see. And I think, John's obviously at that stage now, and I think he will leave the UFC.
Man, let me tell you something. If they let John Jones go, they'll change Francis Ngannou's opponent. It'll be Francis versus Jones, and it'll be Carano versus Rousey on that fucking card.
That'll be fucking crazy.
It'll be the biggest fucking card in MMA history in the last fucking 10, 15 years. Easy.
Yeah,
Like
fucking
easy.
that'll be awesome.
And it hurts the UFC because I don't even know the heavyweight's name over there. I don't even know his name, the guy from the UK or from Ireland or wherever he's from. He has nobody to fight.
Yeah, eye poke.
Yeah, what's his name?
Tom Aspinall.
He has nobody to fight.
Yeah. Well, that
Who does
obviously
he have?
Garn poked him in the eye, didn't he? So
Yeah, he has nobody to fight.
yeah, he's too good for them, isn't he? Really, I suppose.
Nobody wants to fight him, and he has nobody to fight. So how does he make money?
He doesn't.
He doesn't. And the amount of money that he could make, it was in the John Jones fight. So who does he fight and how does he get paid? And how does he get out of his UFC contract?
Oh,
He's
that's big questions, isn't there?
hey,
Really.
he's done. Because nobody wants to see him and Cyril Gane. Nobody wants to see that.
They've already seen it once, and so what happened?
Nobody wants to see that. It's done. Listen, the UFC is in a pickle, man. If they don't start paying their fighters more money, they're going to be in a tough situation.
Thing is, I don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, if you've got a business and people are bringing in big bucks, why not look after them? This short term approach of, like you said, give to get back. The whole judo thing. Sometimes you've got to give stuff to get stuff back, but they want to be take. Unfortunately, short term, great. You can con people short term, and you get this little bottom line net profit. But over time, the world and the universe doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
It doesn't. It's rugged capitalism. That's unfortunate because it's almost like the more you give, the more you receive. So it's two things. All right. I could understand the reduction of payouts if they reduce the ticket prices, but they've increased the ticket prices, and they're not increasing the pay. You can't increase the ticket prices by not increase the pay. Like you can afford to pay these guys what they would make in boxing. You can. You just don't want to. And let me tell you something. Jake Paul is going to pay those people that type of money.
It's true.
I don't know what Gina Carano's going to make, but she'll probably make around the $7 to $10 million mark. Which is how is Gina going to make any money like that ever right now? She's not. Ronda will probably make 20, 30, maybe 40 mil from this fight.
Crazy numbers. But it's like people say, oh, football or soccer players, for the Americans listening, get paid too much. But it's like, well, that's the revenue generated. At least they're paying the players, rather than what would you rather? They don't pay the players and the club just gets everything.
And here's the thing. People never question how much the owner makes.
Exactly. Well, this is it. It's stupid.
The people in the C-suite make more money than the players. There's no player on that field that's making more money than the people in the C-suite. They might make more than some of the coaches, but not the people in the C-suite. No, no, no. The CEO, the COO, and the CFO, and the CMO, they all make more money than all those players on the football field. 100%.
Yeah, I think, like you say, with the MMA scene, to really elevate the sport, you have to pay people good money, because otherwise your best athletes, unfortunately, drop off. And I think that can be the case. The issue with judo, I suppose, as well, is that there's not really a financial incentive to go to the Olympics, etc. And people think, oh, do you know what? Am I going to make it? Am I going to get an Olympic medal? Maybe I don't, and decide to just call it quits. You see this in Japan. They've got so many good players. There are people who could probably make the Olympics, but decide to go into a career in merchant banking instead, because there's not enough financial reward there that makes it a viable long-term approach, unless of course you love the sport and you really want to leave your name in legacy forever.
That's the thing about that's the thing about judo. Judo does a great job in selling hope. They sell hope, man. What makes people want to, what makes people want to pursue judo the way that we pursue it is just the hope of making that Olympic team. Because you're not making a lot of money when you're doing judo. No, not unless you got some sponsorships and you yeah, and you're Teddy Riner. But I will say this too. Um, in today's marketplace, you can't play the victim and say I can't make money from judo because you can. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do the work required. The work required in today's marketplace is you're gonna have to turn your life into a running show. Like you need to get up in the morning and say, "Hey man, I'm waking up in the morning, getting ready to do my run, get ready to go to the weight room. I'm climbing rope right now, get ready to do my recovery. I got my first technical session and then go over what you do at a technical session. Then come back. I got judo. Here's what I'm eating doing today." And then you build up your following, you build up your following, you build up your following, and then you get paid and you do seminars, you do appearances. Like all those things are available to you. You can do all those things, or you can sit there and complain.
100%, but it's more the fact. What I meant by that was it's not that you're getting like paid like as an employee. You have to generate, because look, at the end of the day, if you've got a skill set, people are willing to pay you for it. As you said about seminars, people charge hundreds, thousands for Jimmy Pedros and people to come to their dojo and teach a basic technique, a Karuchigari, for example, because it's the expertise and the specialist knowledge that people want, but it's how to monetize that. And unfortunately, a lot of people who do go down the professional sports path aren't always educated, as you said, and they don't really understand business and how to make money. They think, well, why don't they just pay me? The institution pay me 30 grand a year to fight. Unfortunately, you have to be able to monetize your skills and knowledge.
100%, 100%, 100%. If you keep winning, you can get paid. But man, winning in judo all year long, that's tough and it's rough on the body. Like it's rough on the body, like real rough. And it's hard
Yeah,
because sometimes people don't have insurance. What job is going to let you travel that much and train?
that's true.
It's not one. Like it's not one. No. What's our next topic, Jeevan?
So, is there anything that you want to discuss?
I would say the direction of coaching and teaching and learning in judo as it is today. Um, it's very different. I came from an approach that I utilize, which is deliberate practice. I really believe in deliberate practice. I have a colleague, Dr. Chris Round, who is a big time ecological approach guy. Um, and we have decided to use a hybrid approach to teach our clients and our students. A lot of individuals believe that you can't necessarily have a hybrid approach because the two framework are so different at the theoretical level that there is no hybrid approach. But the fact of the matter is that at the practical level, the practitioner level, you most definitely can. Because even if I'm doing, and there's crossover in the realm of constraints-led approaches in terms of coaching. Even if I'm doing deliberate practice, I still have a constraints-led practice at times when I'm doing grip fighting and only Ashiwaza. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Or both people can only do Osoto Gari. Or you can only do Osoto and Sasai, or Sasai and Osoto. You can do whatever you want to do, but you got to do Osoto and Sasai. Now they will see other things and other things will open up, but I'm constraining the practice to those particular two moves. The ecological approach has the same thing. Um, we use a hybrid approach, and we see how practice and training is changing. We see the pros and the cons of it. Some of the pros are the kids learn faster with the ecological approach. The cons are they don't know the names of shit, which is a problem. Now, sometimes we don't give a shit because if we're trying to get the room up to speed so that the people in the room are good practice partners for some of our heavy hitters or good practice partners for each other, then we just need to get the speed of the room up. And then we'll have to take our time to do the deliberate practice on the this is Ushiro Keisukatami, this is Munigatami, and then clean up how to make those positions tight and where the pressure needs to be. Because some of those things we don't want the person to figure out. We want to drill it so that they know it. That's what I mean when I mean we use a hybrid approach. People argue about this thing all day. The bottom line is, you want to coach and you want to win at the level that we coach. And you want to coach and you want to win at the grassroots level where winning is, Johnny and Erica, they come back to class with smiles on their faces and they can't wait to, get on the mat and join hands in a big circle and do the foot sweep game again. That's winning too. And in coaching now, I think that a lot of coaches have to define their goals of what winning is. And a lot of people have created either one, they haven't asked themselves the right questions, or two, they've created the wrong goals for the population which they're serving. And it ends up being what we call a message to market mismatch. Like you need to know where you are, the socioeconomic status of the place that you live in, understand the parents that are in the dojo, understand the kids that you coach, and then understand what you're able to create from that. Because an Olympic champion may not come out of there, but you might get a person who finds the cure for a certain type of cancer, or who graduates from high school and takes up plumbing and then creates a plumbing company that serves all of the, all of the counties in the state. Um, at the end of the day, the ego of the coach wants to develop good players, but our job is to develop good citizens.
100%. I like what you say as well, is that, it's down to the individual goals. Not everyone wants to go to the Olympics. Not everyone can go to the Olympics. Not everyone should go to the Olympics. For some people, they just want to get in shape and have a community because they don't have many friends. For other people, they want to win local competitions. Some just want to get their black belt. Some just want to, not get injured so they can go to work. And I think that when you understand, some want to be just randori players, some want to compete, some just want to be technical players, whatever. But I think you need to understand, or we need to understand, who we're dealing with, because not everyone wants to, be a hardcore judoka. And I think that's the question that does need to be asked at the outset. So why are you doing judo? I would just want to come once a week to lose a bit of weight. Fine. Maybe for you, 25 rounds of randori at 4 minutes apiece is probably not the best idea.
Right, 100%.
But if you are, got goals of going to the Olympics, first of all, have you got what it takes? And secondly, maybe your training regime needs to be 4 or 5 times a week, regimented with rest periods and stretching and strength and conditioning and diet and all these sorts of things, in order to at least give yourself a chance to get there. And I think that's a real important thing, because there's too much of a generic approach of everyone to train this way, everyone to train that way. And unfortunately in life, that's not how it works.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Yeah, not at all. That's it for me, man. 100%.
I've enjoyed having you on, buddy.
Oh man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Absolute legend.
I appreciate it, man. God is good, brother. I do judo every day. Like every day. Either I'm talking about judo, I'm studying judo, I'm in the dojo. I don't ever feel like I'm working. The most miserable part about my job is when I gotta get the bookkeeping shit together for the fucking IRS and do taxes or I gotta put all my shit together when I'm making a product. I love the ideation of creating products and new shit. Um, I even I even love making some of the shit. I don't like the process of putting the shit together, which is why I have assistants now where I make the shit and then I throw it over the fucking fence and I tell them to put it together. But I just love what I do, man. I just love it. I love the whole process of educating people and being able to coach and do judo outside the walls of a dojo. You know my background. I had the opportunity to be the head coach for a national governing body for the Bahamas Judo Federation, which was absolutely fantastic. I've been the high performance coach for the Bahamas Judo Federation. You know, I've gotten the schedule together. I've been the head coach. I also served as the assistant coach. I've also served in the capacity of a manager internationally. Like I've attended the meetings and gone through the draws and like I've had an opportunity to live a really, really full life in terms of judo, and I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to share with other people.
Love it, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Get the message out there. Keep, getting them good judokas coming through the doors in Florida. And obviously, you've written books and stuff as well. So, yeah, love what you're doing, man.
Thank you. If one thing, man, I would encourage everybody to go to www.gripfighting.com and get the free seminar, man, and the free grip fighting resources that I got today. It's 100% free. Just go get it and go grab it.
Can't lose.
If there's one thing, man, that you need in high level judo, it is grip fighting. If you don't have kumikata, you don't have nothing. You can't win. Like you can't win without good gripping. You cannot. It is impossible. 100%. But Jiva, man, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
100%.